On February 10th, 2012, Kobe Bryant was asked what he thought about Jeremy Lin. He hadn't even heard of him.
I don't even know what he's done. I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
But the very next game, that nobody dropped 38 points on him, and the NBA was never the same. What made this run so wild is that Jeremy Lin wasn't just an underdog, he was almost out of the league entirely. He went undrafted, only got a summer league spot because Dallas thought he'd help sell tickets to Asian fans, and was cut by Golden State and cut again by Houston, all in the span of 12 days. By the time he got to New York, he was sleeping on a couch, and his own head coach didn't believe in him. He was one bad practice away from being done. Then, in one second half, everything flipped. He hit game winners like it was nothing, broke an NBA record for new starters, and later became an NBA champion. So, how did someone every team rejected end up humbling the entire NBA? To find that out, we need to go back to the 2010 draft, the moment the league decided that Jeremy Lin wasn't NBA material. Jeremy Lin, after setting multiple school and Ivy League records representing Harvard's Division I basketball program during his 4-year tenure, was waiting patiently for his name to be read out. However, as assistant NBA commissioner Adam Silver announced the final pick, Lin's dreams were crushed.
But I went undrafted, and I remember I was pissed. And so I immediately did what any rational person who's pissed does. I went to Wingstop with my family. We ordered 100 wings and like 4 things of French fries, and I just stuffed my face.
To make matters worse, not a single team was interested in bringing him in for training camp or even summer league.
Basically, nobody even wanted me on their summer league roster, except for one team.
Donnie Nelson, the Dallas Mavericks general manager, had just formed a brand new development league associate for his franchise alongside co-owner Sonny Zhao. Therefore, viewing Jeremy simply as a marketing ploy for their new team, Donnie gave Lin the chance he needed. Yet, upon arrival to the Mavericks Summer League training camp, the Harvard graduate ran into another issue. The team was already loaded with guards, and realizing the brutal truth about making the NBA,
every year in Summer League, there's like 3 or 4 players who earn a legit NBA contract from Summer League. That's it.
Jeremy thought it was all over. However, on July 15th, 2010, Lin's life would take a massive turn. As the Mavericks faced off against #1 pick point guard John Wall and his Wizards Summer League squad, everything was going as expected. But with the sudden injury to starting guard Rodrigue Beaubois, Dallas had no choice but to go to their bench.
Jeremy Lin checking in for Dallas.
But the situation the unwanted rookie entered wasn't exactly ideal. So Lin made it his goal to bring his squad back and steal victory from the jaws of defeat, whether that was by attacking the hoop aggressively,
Got to work on the D. Lin went right around him,
finding his teammates with his point guard skills, or locking up the league's top pick.
Jeremy Lin tied up John Wall. Now the matchup. Shot clock coming down on Wall. And over Lin. Again, short.
Jeremy was doing it all. However, the 22-year-old's best efforts were unfortunately not enough. Yet, there was one positive. While the Dallas Mavericks refused to sign Lin, his play against Wall piqued the interest of many teams, and being a Bay Area native, Jeremy made his decision.
Chance to make history as the first Asian American NBA player in the modern era. Lin grew up in Palo Alto, signed with the Warriors today. He grew up as a Warriors fan, idolizing guys like Latrell Sprewell, led Palo Alto high to the state championship in 2006.
My dream was to play in the NBA, and now I get to do it for the Warriors, the team that I grew up watching. Like you said, it's more than a dream come true if that's possible. I consider myself more of a basketball player. I know I'm ready to play at this level more than I'm concerned about being Asian American.
Also, okay, quick interjection. Does anyone remember these power bands? Back in the day, I swear I'd put these on. I had like 3, and I swear I was unstoppable. But then apparently they never. I swear they worked. When they got exposed as not working, I was, this is fake. These work. Anyway, I for sure fell for that scam. However, during his rookie season, the Warriors guard faced a brand new issue, one that he had yet to battle.
If there is one word that could define my rookie season, it would just be anxiety.
Because, given his undrafted status, Golden State often sent Lin to the D-League, where the ex-Harvard star would dominate, averaging 18 points, 4.4 assists, and knocking down threes from the further NBA line at a legit 39% rate for the Reno Bighorns. But the moment he got called back up to the big leagues, Lin struggled.
I mean, there were nights last year where I was just actually just reduced to tears. I couldn't take it anymore, because from the outside looking in, they're like, oh, you're fine. He's still, collecting an NBA paycheck and this and that. But for me, it's, what really hurt was I felt like I had the ability to do it.
Faced with the crippling pressure of trying to make it on the highest stage of basketball, whilst also doing so surrounded by the expectations placed on him by family and friends, Jeremy could barely handle it. To make matters worse, not only would the league enter a lockout, but Golden State cut their local bench guard. However, Jeremy wasn't about to give up.
The whole lockout for 9 straight months, I worked out 3 times a day by myself for 9 straight months. Like I'm saying, there were no breaks, nothing. Like it was clockwork.
Using the simple fact he had actually stepped foot onto an NBA court, something that only roughly 4,000 people have ever done as motivation.
It made me believe I could do it. And I remember right when the season ended, at the end of that season, we're going to the lockout. And so I was like, oh, there's gonna be a ton of time. We'll start filming a little YouTube thing. And in that YouTube, after the season, I sat down and I said straight to the camera, and it's now in my documentary, but I said, I'm gonna become a rotation player, I'm gonna be a starting point guard, and then I'm gonna win a championship.
Then, after months and months of waiting, the call finally came. Jeremy Lin was going to become a Houston Rocket, but it was in Texas, where the undrafted sophomore's life would take a shocking turn.
But even in Houston, when I got cut from the Warriors, I got picked up from Houston. I was a 5th string point guard. They had so many point guards, and they had Rubio and Johnny Flynn and Goran Dragic and so on and so forth. And I cleared out my locker. I took everything out. I emptied my shoes, everything. I emptied it into one bag. I took it with me. I went back to the hotel. I called you. I said, Raj, tell him to cut me. and you gave me this long conversation. And you're like, I need you to take your stuff, and I need you to go to practice tonight.
But basically, they were like, wow, you played so well. We want to keep you, but we have 15 guaranteed spots. Just chill for a sec. We're gonna try to trade somebody. And so they're trying to trade people, but no one would pick it. At that time, they were trying to get rid of, I think it was Johnny Flynn. That's what my agent told me. But then I guess that fell through. And so they ended up cutting me on Christmas.
Yet, being cut on Christmas was actually a gift for Lin. As with New York Knicks guard Iman Shumpert going down with injury, the franchise, who had always kept an eye on Jeremy, made their move. However, his contract was non-guaranteed. If the Knicks felt his performance wasn't up to standard, or one of their other guards returned to full health, Lin would be cut instantly.
I'm fighting for my NBA life right now. I've gotten cut twice in the last 2 weeks, and I'm fighting for my NBA life, and I just need to do whatever it takes to stay on a roster as long as I can.
To make matters worse, when he touched down in Manhattan, the same problem he had always battled remained.
I didn't really know what to expect, because I'm looking at the roster and there's so many point guards. There's Mike Bibby, Tony Douglas, a lot of players, and then they had just drafted Shump too, Baron Davis, and so I'm kind of looking at the roster why do they want me?
But there were actually some people on their roster who saw past all the labels placed on Jeremy.
I have to give my credit to my assistant coaches, my brother and Kenny Atkinson. They said, he's got something. He's got something. They would work him out. And I go, God, I don't see it. Does he?
Okay, interjecting one last time. I've watched this video literally hundreds of times, and only now do I realize that this is Kenny Atkinson working him out. It actually blew my mind when I rewatched this while researching, but anyway. Then, after being sent back to the development league, which Jeremy responded by dropping a 26-point triple-double, he finally gained the confidence to translate his D-League success to the NBA.
I was like, okay, like, I think I'm ready. Like, all that work that was put in, I think I'm ready.
Plus, the looming threat of being cut at any moment motivated Lin.
My mindset going into the game was, if I don't do well, I'm beating cut.
So, as soon as Lin checked in against cross-state rivals, the New Jersey Nets, he got to work at ensuring he would keep a spot on the Knicks roster. Yet, New York's front office had already seen an exciting first half from Jeremy. In their previous battle against the Boston Celtics, Jalen had done the same thing, only this time versus the Nets. Injured Knicks superstar Carmelo Anthony urged his head coach Mike D'Antoni to keep Jeremy in, a kind move from his teammate that saw the ex-Harvard star translate that collegiate success to the NBA. As the buzzer rang in Madison Square Garden, Lin's incredible 25-point night had not only pushed his team into the win column, but propelled Jeremy into NBA stardom.
Like, after the game, I would go back, and at that time I was still staying on my brother's couch, but I would be like, screenshot, I'd be like, I'm on ESPN. Oh, like, dude, screenshot, I gotta save it. Like, I was just so not used to it. Right. And I was just sitting on the couch, I was like, dude, I can't believe I just scored 25 points against a great team, and now I'm coming back to the couch, and I'm like, and there's like half the couch is folded clothes, and the other half the couch is like my, where I'm like, this is crazy.
In fact, in their following matchup versus the Utah Jazz, Coach D'Antoni's decision to start Lin proved that now even their leader's opinion had completely shifted. But there was actually a sneaky reason D'Antoni did this.
And so when Jeremy Lin got a chance to play, no one knew who he was. There was no scouting report. Each game you get like a scouting report of the team and all the players, and there was no scouting report for Jeremy Lin. So when there's no scouting report, you can't figure him out. You don't know how to play him.
Jeremy's lack of time in the NBA meant Utah had no idea who he was and what he was good at.
Lin banks it in, and a foul.
An advantage that you just don't get in the NBA.
Lin splits the defenders, gets inside, lefty layup, puts it in.
With the ex-Warriors guard doing this,
Chandler keeps it alive. Lin has to put it up. Bang! A three-pointer as the shot clock expired.
Pushing his Knicks into the win column once again, and then dropping 23 on the road versus the Wizards, the NBA world was in awe. However, their next opponent and their superstar weren't convinced.
And all of a sudden it pops up on the TV in the taxi, and it's like, it was like talking about how Kobe was saying, like, oh, I don't know who he is.
Jeremy Lin, are you following that story at all?
No idea. I know who he is, but I don't really know what's going on too much with him.
Are you surprised at the production that Lin's had over the past week?
I don't even know what he's done. I have no idea what you guys are talking about. I'll take a look at it tonight, though. Who is this kid? Yeah, I've heard about him and stuff like that, but I don't know what he's been doing.
I was like, dang, why did he say that? And I was like, you know what? Every time I touch the ball, I'm gonna be aggressive. I'm trying to shoot as many times as I can.
So, Lin did just that. Every single time the basketball hit his hands, Jeremy was trying his absolute best to be aggressive, taking what Kobe had said personally and showing him exactly who he was. By the end of this insane night, the undrafted guard had not only defeated an NBA legend, but scored 38 points on his head and earned the full trust from his head coach.
What makes him such a good fit for your offense?
He's so good. He's a good guy. It's all about the team. And, and I know those are cliches, but it's true. His defense is good. His energy is good. His personality rubs off on everybody. And now we got him. We got Tyson and guys like that in there that it's becoming a love fest. It's getting a little sloppy.
Hey, yo, what the? But Lin wasn't anywhere near finished. In fact, things were about to get insane. As the Knicks headed off on a short 2-game road trip, Lin's 20 points saw New York defeat the Minnesota Timberwolves, and they were now set to battle the Toronto Raptors. But unlike every other game in this Linsanity streak, the Raptors weren't just gonna roll over. No, they fought tooth and nail, resulting in a tie game with 27 seconds remaining.
Okay, it's me against Calderon. And I was like, and I remember I see Tyson, he's like inching up, he wants to come set the pick and roll. And we have about 15 seconds left, and I'm like thinking to myself, if he comes and sets this pick and roll, they're gonna double me. And I was like, I need to get this shot up. I need to shoot this shot. I need to win this game. And so I remember looking to D'Antoni, and I'm like, no pick and roll, let me ISO. No pick and roll, let me ISO. And he looks at me, because I mean, pick and roll was what I was, that was my bread and butter. And he was like, hey man, if that's what you want, go for it.
Lynn for the win! Got it! Butler fires. And the game ends.
But with the looming return of Carmelo Anthony and forward Amari Stoudemire, what fans had dubbed Linsanity was seemingly going to be ending. While D'Antoni had hope,
I'm excited about getting those two guys back, and I'm excited about the possibilities and where we can go, and we should only get better from here. Now that's obviously the objective, but and guys will have to bend a little bit, but also we'll bend toward them, and they know that. They're good guys.
Melo's return on February 20th, 2012, plus their battle against the championship favorite Miami Heat, in which LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh made it their only goal to shut Lynn down, saw Jeremy's averages begin to plummet. To make things worse, with Coach D'Antoni handing in his resignation and the appointing of Mike Woodson, the offensive system which the rising star had flourished in was now gone. In its place, Coach Woodson opted to utilize much more Carmelo Anthony isolations rather than pick and rolls with Lynn and one of their bigs. But this wasn't the only hurdle the undrafted guard had to face.
Welcome back. Jeremy Lin had missed his past 3 games with a sore left knee, and it's worse than that. It has been diagnosed as a torn left meniscus. He has elected to have surgery on the knee, and that means that Jeremy Lin is going to be out for 6 weeks following this procedure.
With the end of Linsanity cemented by the fact that Jeremy would miss the remainder of their lockout shortened season and New York's brief playoff run, Lin began to look forward to the future, negotiating an actual multi-year contract with the Knicks. However, Carmelo Anthony was allegedly uninterested in sharing the spotlight. He had left the team who drafted him in 2003 for this exact opportunity to be the king of New York. So, the Knicks let Jeremy walk. But there was a silver lining. The same team who cut him on Christmas had just signed him to a 3-year deal. Yet, just 2 days before his first regular season game as the franchise centerpiece, another shocking announcement would occur.
It's Sunday afternoon, and James Harden is a Houston Rocket. The Thunder has shipped James to Houston.
However, despite this crazy move and Lin's departure from his I am the guy on this roster role, he was still a true starting NBA point guard, a player that, as James Harden sat due to an ankle injury for their mid-December battle with the San Antonio Spurs, who was ready to showcase that Linsanity wasn't just a phase.
Because tonight will be the night that I will fall for you.
Back outside to Jeremy Lin, floats it up and in. Jeremy gets around Parker, lays it up and in. Take the lead going into the final 12 minutes. Jeremy Lin puts up a three! Jeremy Lin with his 4th three-point.
However, despite a blisteringly hot night in which Jeremy matched the career high he put up against Kobe Bryant and his Lakers, it unfortunately wasn't enough to push his Rockets over the line. To make matters worse, with the return of James Harden shortly after this loss, Linsanity was shifted back into a secondary playmaking role. While Jeremy would continue to shine in this position, recording 9 games with at least 10 assists, he was ultimately frustrated. He never really wanted to leave New York, and while the offensive style in Texas suited his skill set more, the sudden arrival of Harden saw Lin never really get the chance he felt he had earned. Struggles, which not only saw the former Knick place extreme pressure on himself before each and every game, only resulting in his numbers slowly declining, but his coaches beginning to lose faith in Jeremy. The franchise was clearly, and fairly, favoring Harden as their first option. And as they shifted towards Chandler Parsons, who I will always remember of having like the flattest shot in NBA history, I never really understood how it worked. Like, he kind of just shot it at the rim like he was shooting a dart, but like, he was money. Lin's self-doubt only grew stronger. To add to the negativity brewing inside Jeremy's head, a chest contusion robbed Linsanity of an opportunity he had yet to receive, showcasing his talents in the postseason. But while Oklahoma City had eliminated the Jeremy Lin-less Rockets in just the first round of the playoffs, Houston's coaching staff had seemingly begun to figure out how to use Jeremy, and early in the 2013-2014 season, it seemed to be working. With Jeremy Lin now coming off the Rockets bench in a role focused on scoring and generating points rather than playing second or third string to Harden and Parsons, Lin's confidence was returning, a point only made clearer by what happened on November 11th, 2013, because Lin's 22 points in regulation, plus following it up with crucial buckets in the game's first and then second overtimes, had seen something shocking happen. Not only had Jeremy produced his first 30-point night of the season, but with Harden absent for their following battle, the Rockets needed some Linsanity if they were going to get past the Philadelphia 76ers victorious. Jeremy Lin, now comfortably in the driver's seat of their offense and playing alongside multi-time All-Star and NBA finalist big man Dwight Howard, who the Rockets had acquired over the offseason, was dominating.
Lin another three, and he has got it going on. 6 of 8 from beyond, 22 points.
Yet, this time around, the insane night from Lin, while it had forced an extra period, just wasn't enough. Somehow, 34 points and 12 assists from the undrafted rising star couldn't push his Rockets past the Sixers. Yet, Houston, having made some great offseason moves, had built a team ready to go much further than just the first round in this year's playoffs. And after securing the 4th seed, everyone was ready to go as deep as possible. While the Rockets had initially struggled against Damian Lillard and his Portland Trail Blazers, going down 3-1 as their 4th battle concluded, Linsanity's 21-point contribution in Game 5 and elite defensive performance against Lillard in Game 6 had seemingly allowed Houston to force a 7th and final game. But Rockets head coach Kevin McHale made a major move.
I was so pissed that I got subbed out, because I guarded Damian Lillard during that 4th quarter. He had not scored a single point on me.
And with the Rockets confused, leaving their timeout in what style of defense they were actually supposed to be playing, this happened.
3 wins the series. It's Lillard. He got the shot off. Lillard, good! Good! And the Blazers win the series for the first time in 14 years!
Jeremy Lin was heartbroken. Just 2 seasons ago, he was a nobody, given one final chance to achieve his one true dream, and somehow, some way, he incredibly had, only to arrive to a team that just threw him to the side every chance they got, a theme that as the offseason arrived, that only continued.
As Jeff Goodman of ESPN reports, the Houston Rockets have dealt Jeremy Lin and a future first-rounder to the Los Angeles Lakers.
Upon Linsanity's arrival into Los Angeles, he received a mysterious text to his number that he only shared with his closest friends and family.
Then I get an unknown message on my private number. And it's like, hey, you want to work out with me next week at 6 a.m. or 5:45 a.m.? And then it was like, KB. And I'm like, KB? I literally looked at my family and I was like, why do I have an unknown number and who's KB?
Kobe Bryant, fresh off a serious Achilles injury that had seen him miss almost all of the previous season, was ready to continue his hunt for championship ring number 6. And his first task was to test his new point guard.
It was 2.5 hours and he didn't let us drink water once. And it was just like, we were just drilling mid-range for 2.5 hours, no water, and he was just like, so focused.
The reason for all this work? Lakers starting PG, Ronnie Price, was out for the foreseeable future, meaning Jeremy Lin was going to be Bryant's distributor for the time being. However, just 3 games into the season, issues began between the pair.
And Lin will direct traffic.
Clippers going crazy, wanted to travel right there on Boozer.
Shot clock at 6. Kobe pointing, now setting the screen. Shot clock at 2. Lin has to heave and buries it.
With Lin setting the tone for the rest of their campaign, the duo began to relentlessly text and discuss on how they could get each other to the highest stage of the game. But Jeremy eventually got sick of how the Black Mamba spoke to him.
Look, you're Kobe. Like, I'm coming in trying to learn from you, okay? So, like, I'm okay with anything as long as you talk to me like a man. Like, in terms of, like, don't talk down to me like I'm a boy. Talk to me like a man and respect me. And then, you know, he has always said, like, you know, everybody just says what I want them to say. Like, it's very rare that somebody actually stands up to me.
Tension, which showed up not only off the court, but on it at practice. To the point where the pair completely stopped talking to each other towards the end of their failed season.
We didn't speak for the last 4 months of the season. Like, nobody knew, nobody on the team knew. But for me, that was like something I was willing to accept because I said what I needed to say to him. And if he didn't like that and he was like, I'm not gonna engage in, or like, I'm not gonna talk to you anymore, I was like, all right, cool, I can live with that. At least I said what I needed to say.
Therefore, no longer garnering the required respect from the head of the Lakers snake, Lin was promptly on the move as soon as the season closed. As Linsanity arrived in North Carolina, his goals were clearly set by the Charlotte Hornets franchise: come off the bench and be our backup point guard. However, Lin wasn't content with just a secondary role, no. So when he finally got the chance to start on December 17th, 2015, he got to work at proving he deserved one of the 30 starting point guard spots in the NBA.
Lin, three-pointer, goes in! Lin. Creative move for number 7. Jeremy Lin. Can't leave him alone, not tonight. 28 big ones for Jeremy.
A 35-point effort, again against the Raptors. Man, Jeremy Lin really hated Toronto, which included 2 clutch free throws to ice the game in overtime, showed what he was truly capable of. Yet, despite this effort, Jeremy remained as Charlotte's backup, averaging 11.7 points and 3 assists each night as the Hornets found their way into the playoffs against the Miami Heat. However, as the buzzer rang in Game 2, North Carolina's NBA franchise had found themselves in a 2-0 hole and in desperate need of a massive performance from anyone on their roster. So, Linsanity got to work, providing a vital 18 points in Game 3 and then 21 throughout their 4th battle, assisting Charlotte in tying the series at 2 apiece. Yet, despite going on to win Game 5, just a single victory away from uncharted territory for Lin, Miami mounted an insane comeback, destroying the Hornets in both Game 6 and 7, crushing Jeremy's hopes of moving past the initial round. But while the former Laker had proved to be a capable backup, he was hungry for an actual starting point guard role. And guess what? With the Brooklyn Nets' acquisition of head coach Kenny Atkinson, the same former assistant who believed in some random guard from Harvard all those years ago on the Knicks, that spot appeared.
Get ready, New York. Linsanity is back, but he won't be playing for the Knicks. Jeremy Lin took to Twitter to announce that he'll head back to the Big Apple, but this time with the Brooklyn Nets.
An environment that couldn't be any better for Jeremy Lin. Because on the 28th of October 2016, Linsanity returned. Jeremy was dominating in pick and roll, either finding himself for a variety of buckets or dishing it to his wide open teammates for the easiest shots of their lives. After years and years of fighting to get back to that same high he had reached in 2012, Jeremy Lin was back until everything came crashing down. Jeremy would not only suffer a hamstring injury, but as soon as he returned, he just re-injured it yet again. While the Nets guard would eventually come back to round out Brooklyn's 2016-2017 campaign and even managed to average 14.8 points, 4.8 assists, and mounting a 32-point night against the Orlando Magic, without their guy for most of the season, the Nets' playoff dreams were far out of reach. Therefore, Lin did what he had always done, got back in the gym and focused on improving to even higher highs. But on opening night for the 2017-2018 season, everything came crumbling down. Diagnosed with a ruptured patella, Jeremy was devastated.
When I had like the perfect opportunity, I was a starting player. I was, considered the franchise player. I was in Kenny Atkinson's system. Like, it was everything that I felt like I was supposed to continue with the New York Knicks.
With Lin never stepping foot back onto an NBA floor wearing a Brooklyn uniform due to his lengthy recovery and the fact the Nets had shifted him to Atlanta upon the conclusion of their failed season, Jeremy assumed he may never reach the highs he knew he could. However, just after the trade deadline in February of 2019, Lin, after averaging some solid numbers, 10.7 points and 3.5 assists in just 19 minutes off the bench for the Hawks, was pulled to the side and asked something very interesting by Raptors point guard Kyle Lowry.
I'm in the middle of the game and I don't know anything about anything and I'm just playing and Lowry's just like defending me. He's like, "Hey man, you rolling with us?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "You're coming over, right?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And then it wasn't until after the game, I found him after the game. I was like, "Hey man, what are you talking about?" He's like, "Oh, like, I thought you were gonna get a buyout and come hoop with us." And I was like, "Oh, like, I haven't had that conversation with anybody. I didn't know you guys were interested."
So, seeing an opportunity to provide value on a championship contending team, Jeremy had his contract bought out and he signed on for the remainder of the season with the same squad he was so used to destroying. But he had another massive battle to face, one that he hadn't really realized he needed to fight in order to find a role as a contributor on the Raptors roster.
When I got to Toronto, I had 10 games to be able to solidify a position and to really like work into the rotation. And the biggest knock on me then was like, oh, he just gets really down on himself when he misses his shots and stuff like that. And so like, it was like, for me, it wasn't about skill. Their assessment of me was like, oh, it's about where he's at mentally. And that's when I realized those 2 years of injury, like they were having some real effects on me. That year in LA or the time in Houston, the time when I went from the top of the world, literally the top of the world, to like, I lost my starting position. Then I started losing playing time, and then I lost a lot of fans, and then I lost a lot of endorsements, and then all of a sudden, like that whole downward. And then I finally get it, in a great position, and then I get injured. Like that whole thing, like really weighed on me.
Mentally unfocused and checked out, Lin barely saw the floor as his Toronto side battled their way to the mountaintop, eventually hoisting the Larry O'Brien Trophy and crowning Jeremy as an NBA champion.
And that's the last time I ever stepped foot on an NBA floor, and I haven't been able to. I haven't even been able to get training. Like I've said, like, hey, I'm gonna come as a non-guarantee. I will come on a 10-day. I will come in training camp and fight my way. I will give me any opportunity to prove myself. I have not been able to step foot in any NBA facility since that time. Even though for me mentally, I'm in such a different place. And even in the G League, I absolutely killed in the G League. And I still can't touch an NBA facility. And that to me is what's heartbreaking, is like, man, that championship, that's the last time I ever got a chance to really, be a part of the NBA.
Jeremy would then go on, after dominating in China and Taiwan, to announce his retirement from basketball in August of 2025, marking the true end of one of the most inspiring careers of all time. Speaking of insane careers, did you know that there was a time in which Kobe Bryant's beautiful scoring made grown men cry? To learn more about why and how the Black Mamba made basketball look like art, click the video on your screen right now.